I've got stuff everywhere, but there's something I'm going to show you which I think isn't being portrayed too well through social media and the media. But this is my hotel room and I've got shit everywhere, but it's really, really nice place. Okay. Key. I knew I was fitting in something. So this is probably going to be my first video back in Ukraine, and what I want to talk about is how the cities, like if you just got picked up and dropped in one of the cities here, you would not know that there's a war on, you would not know there's invasion, you would not know anything is different other than you're in Eastern Europe, where things are very, just little bits are different. Like, you know, the alphabet is not Latin English, it's Cyrillic, and not many people speak English, but other than that it's normal. And I think a lot of the media has talked up that it's almost like all these cities are under siege, almost maybe for a story, maybe to justify their existence of being in that city and not wanting to head to the front. I don't know, but we're going to go for a walk around this city, which of the capitals of the big cities is probably the second closest to the front. So Lviv, which is the furthest by a long way, is even more normal than this, and Kiev, you'll hear about Kiev a lot, the capital, is completely normal. Like, I was there, restaurants are open, bars are open, you might have an air raid siren once or twice a day, but other than that, normal. Bars, you can go for a drink, you can go get drunk, the strip clubs are open, and you know, there are little bits of remnants that, you know, the country's at war, but the shops are all fully stocked. The grocery shops are full. I just had an ice cream and went and looked around some hiking stores to see if I needed any gear, and way better stocked hiking stores than back home. And it's weird to think that only about 80 kilometres from here, about southeast-ish, is absolute hell on earth. Like, south from here, in that like Zaporizhia, like Orikhiv way, which I'm going to try and head that way maybe tomorrow or the next day, is just absolutely a war like we haven't seen since the World Wars. But we'll go for a cruise around and I'll show you the normality of it. And this would be one of the things I would definitely suggest watching out for when you look at the media coming out of places in Ukraine, is where actually are they? Like, where is said journalist? If they're in Kiev, if they're in Lviv, if they're in Dnipro, like here, then they are reporting on things they're rumoured hearing, or they're reporting off the state media in that town or city, or they're scrolling Telegram, looking at whatever chats and reporting on that. If they're actually reporting on what's happening on the front line, then what they have access to is very, very little. It's rumours filtering through, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just important to realise that's how it is. Same with all of these NGOs. If you're going to donate to a charity, to an NGO, do a little bit of digging and see where they are and what they are actually doing. There's a lot of help, you know, but there's also been $2.5 billion, billion with a B, of charity money that was meant to be donated here has just disappeared into thin air, which is just shocking. But what I was going to say before is it speaks volumes about the character as a people in Ukraine that only within, let's say, 100 kilometres of the frontline border, that life has gone on somewhat normally. And like I said before, if I were to pick you up and just drop you here, you would not know that you would not know anything's happening. And coffee and cake, and had sushi for dinner and all this. I'm always a bit wary about sushi in a landlocked country, but you know, that's how it is. But yeah, it speaks volumes about how it just gets on with it. And I've spoken to a lot of people about this, that I found it really weird that, you know, you see the panic in the early days, and then, you know, now 150 something days in, that life continues on where it has to, I guess. And lots of people I've spoken to are like, yeah, but this is something we didn't realise about the world wars and wars like this, was if you're in Italy or France as a digger or a soldier on the front line, that only a few kilometres back, like once you're out of artillery range, people were in cafes, people were in bars. It's just something that, you know, not really, I guess, known about those wars, but of course they were. Life has to go on. What are you going to do? You know, you can't just sit around scared in a hole or in a basement forever. And if you live here and, you know, go to work and you do whatever and, you know, move on with life, and it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to be amongst, knowing that, well, especially in a situation like mine where I come and go from that front line, you're in the car for 90 minutes, maybe less, and then you can be somewhere having a drink and seemingly just switch completely off from the conflict going on. One of the things that just disgusts me, and it's probably the reason I'm actually making this video, and it's going to be a lot different this trip. There's a lot I want to talk about that I see going on, I see in the news that is just absolutely fabricated. So that's one of the big reasons I'm going to be here. But something that just disgusts me is, you know, you'll see every night in like Kiev, in the capital, or here, if you go to like the big expensive hotels, you know, the Hilton sort of styles of hotels, where all those big journos are staying, where those big media outlets are, you'll see them go in their balcony whenever, say at 6 o'clock here, to line up with like the 8 o'clock live in America or wherever they are, and they'll put on their body armour and helmet and then do their live cross. Now, even if they don't say that the city's under siege, if you're wearing your body armour and helmet, you're wearing that PPE, that gives an impression that the city is under fucking siege, and it's just completely false. And I think the optics of how the media portrays a lot is very counterproductive for the truth. And you'll be probably nodding your head, like shaking your head at me going, no shit, really, that's just the media. But seeing it firsthand, you know, seeing that these journos get in the balcony and put their body armour on in somewhere like Lviv, which is 1,000 kilometres from the closest front, to then do their live cross, and the optics of how it goes, it's just fucking disgusting. Like, a lot of time I just never put my armour on unless I'm somewhere close.
Friends.
Hello, brother, how are you?
Oh, where are you from?
Australia, how are you?
Australia. I'm like you, Australia. You, my friends.
Oh, we're your friend too.
YouTube's.
Yes.
YouTube's.
Ah.
YouTube's channels.
Yes.
Channels. I like you, Australia. I like you, Skin Guru. I love you.
With media doing this and putting on their body armour and doing this and doing that, and of course there was a stage where Kiev was getting bombed on the outskirts, but it feeds this narrative that Russia is carpet bombing cities, and that is just not happening. There are missile strikes in cities, there are legitimate military targets that rely in cities, and there has been targets targeted from the Russians where missiles, rockets have hit that were completely non-militaristic. I'm not blind to that, but I'm also not blind to this narrative that they're just carpet bombing, just indiscriminate bombings in cities, and that is just not happening. There has been, of course, times where that has happened, but is that the norm? God, no. And a lot of them that have been reported as that, there's been a little bit of digging. How are you, lads? And they've done some digging. You go through some of the stuff, and it turns out there was a sense of military target there, and of course then that never trends through the news. So, you know, a bomb hits, some civilians get killed, and then that's what trends straight through the news, and that's horrific. I'm not saying it's not horrific, but I'm saying then, if it is completely reported through all the mainstreamers, this was civilian target only, blah blah blah, and then you do some digging through all the groups, all the whatever, you know, if a couple of days time it turns out, oh, there's actually all these photos of the weapons there, or this or that, you're like, well, you know, fucking hell, that doesn't get reported at all, nothing like that. So it's very difficult trying to see and peer through the truth in this situation of what's happened. But this idea that I think the media buys into, some of the politicians are putting out there, that Russia's just indiscriminately carpet bombing these cities, it's not happening. There was atrocities happen. There was absolute atrocities happen in cities. But to the point of just bombing this is not happening. And that asks me questions of why then have these essential services not been turned off. If you don't think that Russia has the ability to bomb the train lines, the phone towers, the bridges, all the bridges, whatever, you're wrong. They 100% have that ability. And something that leaves me an unanswered question is, why wouldn't you? If I were invading, one of the first things I do is cut off these cities. Now, is this a point of, well, Russia wants to take over these cities and doesn't want to have to rebuild as much, or are they wanting to win over the people here, or whatever? I guess that's up to you to answer, but I'm not here to fill your head with words. I'm just here to give you the facts and what I see on the ground. And you know, this is a peaceful city. There'll probably be an air raid go off tonight, and there'll probably be some rockets land in places around here. But do I feel safe? Yeah, I really do. And in Kiev and Lviv, I feel incredibly safe. I feel as safe as at home. Yeah, I'll probably cop some criticism over some of those comments, but it's the truth. I'm not, I have no reason not to tell the truth. But I think that might be the end of this. So have a great day. It's good to be back. And it's good to be back talking to you guys. I've had some time off. I was really sick in Poland, so I had more time off. But I'm glad to be back. Hopefully my access will be better this time down to the front. The access last time was just impossible. And as soon as like a missile strikes anywhere in a city like this, they just cordon off like a full kilometre or more, so you can't go anywhere near where that hit. So to report on what actually happened is very difficult. The only people I know, I think, who are at the front are Al Jazeera, but they have an unlimited budget, and everyone I've talked to, the only way to get there would be lining pockets of people with young guys on checkpoints and stuff. And fuck, there's been times where I've considered paying my way through things, but Al Jazeera, one of the biggest media outlets in the world, they can just throw money at stuff until they get what they need and where they are. I don't have that ability, so I need to be a nice guy and talk my way into places and see what I can do. But I think I lost my way a little bit there. I think I lost my way trying to do too much mainstreamy type reporting on shit, and I apologise for that. So I'm going back to where I was in the beginning and just reporting on stuff I see, walking around casually like this, and just doing it as I do it. And it makes me happier. It makes me not put like pressure on myself to compete with these media outlets, because I just never will, and nor will they ever let me. So have a great day. I'm going to walk down the coast here on the Dnipro River, which is beautiful. And I'll speak to you in the next video, which hopefully will be in a day or two and not a month like the last one. Probably something that's not understood too well either is that there's still shitloads of fighting age males around, and this isn't on the majority from them not wanting to fight. It's the process to actually arm these men to stand in the front line. It would be impossible. You think with how hard it would be, how difficult it is, how much money we need to equip the tens of thousands of Australian soldiers we've got in a very wealthy country. Ukraine has basically sent everyone from 18 to 60, and they're talking 18 to 70 now is on the table as well, but 18 to 60 cannot leave the country. Let's say that's close to ish 18 to 20 million people. It's impossible to actually arm and equip that many people in a short amount of time. So there's still heaps getting around, and that's not talking wrong to anyone, but I think there's this impression that people have of, because there's been people in my video, why is there still men on the streets? And I'm like, well, because you couldn't just arm millions of people at once. It's impossible to do. Something though that is massively talked down by the state media especially, and the mainstream Western media, which is, let's be honest, basically state media at this point, about the actual casualties that Ukraine is taking. I read an article the other day from Wall Street Journal with an interview with President Zelensky, where he was saying there was 20 Ukrainians killed a day. And I can tell you from talking to my friends from multiple different sources of intelligence, everything, that number is just complete propaganda. It's something I actually think was disgusting to be posted, because it's not like you're halving it, it's like you're making it like so much smaller. Today there was 10 missiles hit just south of here on a foreign fighters camp, and the Russians will say foreign mercenaries, foreign fighters, however you see it. I don't have the coordination up these stairs. And there was 120 men killed in a day. The other day there was missile strikes on an ammunition depot, and there was an estimated 1,400 Ukrainian men killed. And there's been a lot of estimates. The estimates that I have heard through multiple streams, you're looking more 300 to 500 dead a day, which on Ukraine, and similar reporting on the Russian side, which is world war numbers. That is just fucking crazy to get your head around, and that's why this video I wanted to put out, because I'm like, it's so weird to have this normality in the city and know that there's, let's say on average between both sides, 600 to 1,000 men being brutally killed every single day in just horrific ways. And depending if what Telegram chats, whatever you're on, the photographs coming through is just fucking hell. Like, it's hell on earth for both sides, and these young men on either side just being thrown into just slaughter. It's just fucked. And that's the weird parallel between a city like this and 100 k's away, an hour drive, that's that happening all the time. Hundreds of men dead a day. It's just insane. Yeah, hard to get your head around. And it'd be weird going down the front, near frontline towns, and seeing, trenches and pits and whatever full of dead soldiers. Had been there, some been there a couple of days, some been there weeks, stuff down basements, everything. And then to come back to complete normality, it's just like holy shit, it's just that weird contrast. Just such a weird contrast. But talking to my friends, some of my Ukrainian friends who have lost many male friends, and who are here because their male boyfriends can't leave, and it's just such a weird thing that these people are very similar to us at home and going through this. And I often wonder, how would we react? Like, how would it be? It might be different with me and Lily, because I am actually trained, and I would go to war with Australia, anyone threatened Australia's independence and democracy. But I think of my friends that have never been in the military, have never served, have never done anything like that. How would their partners and stuff react if we had martial law like this, and 18 to 60-year-olds can't leave the country? Something to think about. It's something to wonder, where it all goes and where the equality lies on that. We're obsessed with equality through every portion of the world. We're obsessed with it. But I've seen zero groups who talk about equality jump up and down about this, which is not surprising, but it's just how it goes. No one will ever realise there's a difference, but when the difference, push comes to shove, of course, there's a difference. Anyway, my rant's done. I just wanted to talk about some of the bullshit the media is putting across, and yeah, there's a really cute Weimaraner dog up here. That's done. Okay, thanks guys.